In a small town in Germany, a little boy sat on the floor, a house of cards. He carefully placed each card, his tiny hands steady with focus. His parents watched him concerned. He was 3 years old and had barely spoken a word. Other children his age were already forming sentences. Yet he remained silent. "Why doesn't he talk?" his mother whispered to her husband. His father sighed. "Give him time." And time he took. When he finally spoke, it wasn't with simple words but full sentences, as if he had been gathering them all at once. Years later, he would joke, "I didn't speak much as a child because I didn't see the point of talking until I had something meaningful to say." From an early age, the boy saw the world differently. One day, his father gave him a compass. As he tilted it in different directions, the needle always pointed north. "Why does it do that?" he asked, eyes wide with wonder. His father smiled. "It follows the Earth's magnetic field." But the boy wasn't satisfied with that answer. He wanted to understand the invisible forces that made it move. That moment sparked a lifelong fascination with science. He was more interested in how the world worked than in what school taught him. Teachers expected obedience, memorization, and discipline, but he wanted to ask questions, challenge ideas, and explore new possibilities. School was not his favorite place. His teachers were strict, and their methods felt rigid. "Stop asking so many questions," one teacher scolded. Another told him, "You will never amount to anything." He was bored by repetitive lessons and clashed with the education system that valued memorization over understanding. At 16, he applied to the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. But there was a problem: he failed the entrance exam. His scores in math and science were excellent, but his marks in languages and other subjects were poor. He was forced to attend a different school for a year before finally being accepted. Despite his struggles with formal education, his love for science never faded. While studying, he spent hours thinking about light. What would happen if someone traveled at the speed of light? Could time slow down? Was space fixed or could it bend? His professors didn't take his ideas seriously. He was just an ordinary student, not a genius in their eyes. After graduating, he couldn't even find a teaching job. Instead, he took a low-paying job at a patent office, reviewing other people's inventions. Most would have seen it as a failure, but for him it was freedom. Away from the pressures of academia, he worked on his theories in his spare time. And then everything changed. In 1905, at 26 years old, he published 4 groundbreaking papers that shook the world of physics. One of them introduced the theory of relativity, leading to the famous equation, E equals mc squared. Suddenly, the man whom teachers once dismissed as a failure became the most talked about scientist in the world. Decades later, the world would celebrate a man whose ideas shattered the limits of human understanding. His discoveries reshaped science, defied expectations, and altered the way we perceive space and time itself. But long before he became a legend, he was just a boy. One who spoke late, who questioned too much, who didn't fit into the mold of traditional education. That same boy, once thought to be slow, would go on to become one of the greatest scientific minds in history. The world now knows him as Albert Einstein, and his story is proof that genius isn't always recognized at first. It's nurtured by curiosity, persistence, and the courage to think differently.